The Supreme Court of India is grappling with a monumental case. It has the potential to reshape women's rights in the country. At the heart of this battle lies the marital rape exception, enshrined in Section 375 of the Indian Penal Code. It exempts marital rape from the definition of rape. This case has captured the nation's attention, igniting debates about gender equality and bodily autonomy. The outcome could impact millions of women. This case represents a pivotal moment in India's journey towards gender justice.
To fully comprehend the significance of this case, it is essential to understand the historical backdrop against which it unfolds. The marital rape exception in India is a vestige of colonial-era laws. These laws were often rooted in patriarchal beliefs. They viewed women as subordinate to men. Section 375 of the IPC, enacted in 1860, reflects this antiquated mindset. It explicitly states that sexual intercourse by a man with his wife is not rape. This is true even if it is done without her consent. This exception essentially creates a legal loophole. It allows men to perpetrate sexual violence against their wives with impunity. Over the years, this exception has been widely criticized. Legal experts, women's rights activists, and international organizations have condemned it. They argue that it violates women's fundamental right to equality, dignity, and bodily integrity. The persistence of this archaic law in modern India is a stark reminder of the deep-rooted gender inequality that continues to plague the country.
The legal challenge against the marital rape exception is being spearheaded by a coalition of NGOs, women's rights groups, and individuals. They argue that the exception is unconstitutional. They say it violates several fundamental rights guaranteed by the Indian Constitution. One of their primary arguments revolves around Article 14, which ensures equality before the law. They contend that the exception discriminates against married women. It denies them the same level of legal protection from sexual violence that is afforded to unmarried women. Furthermore, they invoke Article 21, which guarantees the right to life and personal liberty. They emphasize that this right encompasses the right to bodily integrity and sexual autonomy. By exempting marital rape from the purview of rape law, the exception gravely undermines this fundamental right for married women. The petitioners also highlight the psychological trauma, emotional distress, and physical harm that marital rape can inflict upon women. They argue that the law should recognize and address these harms, regardless of the marital status of the victim.
The legal battle against the marital rape exception in India is not an isolated struggle. It is part of a global movement to criminalize marital rape and recognize the rights of all women to be free from sexual violence. Numerous countries, including the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, and most European nations, have abolished the marital rape exception from their legal systems. These international precedents have set a compelling example for India to follow. They demonstrate that criminalizing marital rape is not only a matter of upholding human rights, but also a reflection of a society's commitment to gender equality and the rule of law. The petitioners in the Indian Supreme Court case have cited these international precedents to bolster their arguments. They contend that India, as a signatory to various international treaties and conventions, including the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, has an obligation to align its domestic laws with international human rights standards.
Section 5. Towards Equality. Past Supreme Court judgments on women's rights. The Indian judiciary, particularly the Supreme Court, has a long and complex history of adjudicating cases related to women's rights. While there have been landmark judgments that have advanced the cause of gender equality, there have also been instances where the court's rulings have fallen short of expectations or have been perceived as perpetuating patriarchal norms. In the context of the marital rape exception, the Supreme Court's previous judgments on related issues, such as the right to privacy, bodily autonomy, and the recognition of marital rape within other laws, will undoubtedly play a crucial role in shaping its decision. For instance, in the landmark Puttaswamy judgment of 2017, the Supreme Court unequivocally recognized the right to privacy as a fundamental right. This judgment has significant implications for the marital rape exception, as it reinforces the notion that individuals, regardless of their marital status, have the right to make autonomous decisions about their bodies and sexual lives. Section 6. The government's stance, balancing tradition and individual rights. The Indian government's stance on the marital rape exception has been a subject of much scrutiny and debate. On the one hand, the government acknowledges the need to protect women from violence and discrimination. It has enacted various laws and policies aimed at addressing gender-based violence, such as the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. On the other hand, the government has expressed concerns about the potential misuse of the law if the marital rape exception is removed. It has argued that criminalizing marital rape could be used as a tool to harass husbands and disrupt the institution of marriage. The government's stance reflects the delicate balancing act it faces between upholding individual rights and respecting societal norms and traditions. However, critics argue that the government's concerns about the potential misuse of the law should not overshadow the urgent need to address the systemic issue of marital rape and ensure justice for survivors.
Section 7. A defining moment, potential outcomes and their impact. The Supreme Court's decision on the marital rape exception is eagerly awaited by women's rights advocates, legal experts, and the public alike. The court's ruling could have several potential outcomes, each with its own set of implications for Indian society. One possibility is that the court could strike down the marital rape exception, declaring it unconstitutional. Such a decision would be hailed as a historic victory for the women's rights movement in India. Alternatively, the court could uphold the exception, arguing it is a matter of legislative policy. This would be a significant setback for women's rights, perpetuating the legal loophole.
Section 8. Shaping the future, a step towards gender justice. Regardless of the outcome, the Supreme Court's decision on the marital rape exception will undoubtedly have a profound impact on the discourse surrounding marital rape and women's rights in India. It will shape the future of gender relations, legal reforms, and societal attitudes towards sexual violence within marriage. A decision to criminalize marital rape would represent a paradigm shift in how India addresses violence against women. It would signal a departure from patriarchal norms. It would affirm women's right to bodily autonomy and consent within marriage. It would send a powerful message that the law stands with survivors of marital rape. Moreover, such a decision would have a ripple effect on other areas of law and policy. It could pave the way for further legal reforms to strengthen the protection of women from all forms of violence and discrimination. The Supreme Court's decision on the marital rape exception is not merely about interpreting the law. It is about shaping a more just and equitable society for all.